What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes always come through with the big names in our sport. Today we're going to talk to UFC Hall of Famer Frankie Edgar, a former lightweight champion and a contender at many weight classes for many years. What's going on, Frankie? How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. So you're at the Dave & Buster's in Times Square because Dave & Buster's and the UFC have connected on this new UFC challenge game. You already had a chance to dabble on it yet or not?
I've been
It
messing
looks
around.
fun.
I brought my kids. They're having fun with it. It's definitely a cool little game they got going on.
Well, I don't know about a little game. From what I've been told, it's a massive
it's
11-foot wide, 12-foot tall,
if
1,700-pound game. What the heck's
you've
going
been
on
in
there?
any gyms in the past where you see like the focus mitts and the big kick shield on the bottom, they pretty much integrated that to a video game, and then with lights around it. So the lights got to go. You gotta time it and hit it accurately and with speed, and it's pretty cool.
All right, so tell us, how does it mimic real fighting? Is it pretty close in terms of the techniques and things like that?
I mean, you got 4 punches, 4 different ways to make contacts and stuff. You got kicks and knees you can throw, so it lets you mix it up, lets you kind of get into the whole mixed martial arts of it all. No real grappling, obviously, but it's cool. Good little challenge game.
All right. Now, folks, these are available nationwide at the Dave & Buster's locations near you. They're available for all fight nights and UFC pay-per-views. And again, it looks pretty cool. You can play in single player mode, 2-player mode, immersive UFC experience, featuring their Venom kits and the UFC gloves. It looks like they really kind of like buttoned up every detail here, Frankie.
No, for sure. It's cool. It's definitely something you and your buddies want to challenge each other with. It's my 2 sons are going at it, trying to beat each other's scores. So I can see this thing being a hit for sure.
Can you beat your sons, or are they finally able to beat dad at something?
Well, maybe the video game. We'll stop it at that. You know what I mean? I'll still whoop their ass. You know what I'm saying? I got a couple years left at least.
Now, hey, I don't blame you if this is what's happening, but is your ego massive enough that you're playing yourself or using other fighters?
Well, right now I think it's kind of a ghost. It's just like a ghost face. So it's no players, just challenger versus challenger. Starting out on the bottom here.
Is it a private deal, or have you already been able to mix it up with the public?
No, we haven't done the public yet, so we'll see. I've been trying to get my inside, training down a little bit, so that when the public comes, I'm ready for them.
You want some loud Jersey or New York kid to come up and talk some trash and really get into it, or what are you looking for in an opponent?
Let's make it fun. Let's make it fun, right? There's no real punches and kicks being thrown, so we can have some fun with it.
This is awesome. All right. So remember, folks, every Dave & Buster's nationwide has the new UFC challenge game, a knockout experience, and it's available at all fight nights and the pay-per-views. And that's important because 42 weeks a year, the UFC keeps you busy here with events all over the world. Frankie, I imagine you'll be tuning into the one in Mexico this week as well with Brandon Moreno and Steve Erceg.
Yeah, absolutely. But if my kids aren't doing something and I'm not, away doing something with them, I'm watching fights every weekend.
Are you chill, or are you like Chuck Liddell, like leaning into it and sweating it and wishing he was in there?
Pretty chill unless I'm tied to the. When you're tied to the person, then you have a dog in the race. You're definitely a little more invested, I guess. But for the most part, I'm chill.
All right, Goes. What do you have for Frankie Edgar, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio today?
Frankie, we see like at the UFC PI and other places where they have those machines where you can kind of gauge the power of somebody's shot. If they had this game at the UFC PI, who do you think would come in first? Like, who would your money be on?
Well, I think they do have it at the UFC PI. And I think Ngannou came in first, didn't he?
No, the game that you guys have at Dave & Buster's.
Who coming first? I don't know. Who's super accurate? Who do you think's super accurate and fast?
I would think maybe an Israel Adesanya. I'd put my money on him.
I think so. I think I'm watching them. Some Globetrotters are over here, and they're really tall. So I feel like being tall is an advantage. So yeah, I think the taller guys might do a little better.
All right. What do fans like right now? You're going to be surrounded by fans. What is it that they bring up the most? What do they talk to you about when they meet you?
Usually the Maynard fight. Me getting knocked down a million times, coming back from that. Usually that's the one they bring up the most.
this game here, if you know, Joe Schmo, George and I, if we were to walk up, how many rounds can we do, man, before we actually start getting tired? Like, how realistic can it get?
I mean, you're throwing punches. I mean, it's not about like how hard you can hit though, but it's definitely speed and accuracy. And I mean, you know, if you're trying to win, try not mess up too. I think the anxiety of it all gets your win going a little bit too.
What strike have you developed that's working for you? Because I think you could throw knees too, right?
You can't throw knees. I think a knee is the way to go. When that green light lights up on the bottom, you can throw a kick, but a knee I think is a little bit quicker.
When I think of knees, I think of Jorge Masvidal putting one on Ben Askren. Do you have a favorite from your time of as a fan or in any of your fights?
Wow. I mean, none of the knees that I took are any of my favorite. I'll tell you that.
No, I mean that you delivered or that you watched, you know.
Yeah, no, I know. I threw a jumping knee on Charles Oliveira. You know, I'm 5'6". He's quite bigger than that. So I think my knee like kissed his chin, but barely touched him. It's kind of funny, but I gave it a shot.
You root for all them guys that you mixed it up with, win or lose, or do you ever hold any resentment or feelings of any kind where you hope they get their ass kicked?
Nah, no, none of that. Everybody I fought, I think everybody's pretty much, you know, straight up guys for the most part, at least on the surface as far as my dealings with them. So I got no ill will towards anybody.
Confirm this for me, but you know, fighters compare that euphoric feeling of winning a fight, especially by finish, as the greatest feeling, you know, ever, right? I watched a lot of your fights, and I felt like the one time I felt you really just go in that primal stage the most was the KO over Chad Mendes. Would you agree? Maybe aside from the, you know, hearing obviously your name and you or whatever, but yeah, tell me about that type of primal moment that you had, and am I right on that one?
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, I think everybody was not writing me off, but they talked about how Chad was the guy that had all the power. You know, that I had to worry about getting knocked out by him, this and that. If I was going to win, it'd be like a dog fight, and going out there and expecting a dog fight and getting that finish, knowing that like, damn, I'm not going to have to, you know, have a hard time eating my food the rest of the week. Was just great, you know. I mean, it was definitely a little. You know, the reaction that I gave was definitely a little animalistic, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the other details? They have UFC gloves, Venom infusion, fight kits. Seems pretty realistic. I'm even hearing that Face the Pain is played. Like they spared no expense here.
Yeah, no, the game's super dope. I think, like I said, people are gonna love it here. I'm sure. I'm assuming they're gonna get it going in a little bit up here. I think they have a tournament going on, so we'll see who gets the prize.
Yeah, and folks, it's a great spot to really go watch fights. They got obviously drinks, food. I like the creamy chicken pasta personally, but
margarita's not too bad.
Oh, I love it. There you go. All right. How many of those have you smashed?
You know, when in Rome.
You got a driver taking you back to Jersey?
Oh yeah.
Oh, then go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Have a good time. All right, let me send it back to Goes. Goes, what do you have for the answer?
So I actually couldn't believe when this happened, but maybe an hour ago, we interviewed Jim Miller. Your name came up in that interview, and we told him we're going to be talking to him in a little bit. And I just wanted to pass forward that everything was good. Everything he was talking about you. He really admired you and what you did in our sport. But he did tell us one story that kind of cracked us up, and we wanted to see if we can confirm it. He said one time in practice, you guys just went to kind of shake hands, but he kind of did this. You might have done that. Then they switched it to a high five. Like you guys just couldn't get it right. And he said it was the most awkward, whatever you call that, handshake in history of men. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, you're talking about Jim Miller, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. We trained quite a few times. We fought actually way back in the day. But yeah, we had that little awkward exchange at one point for sure. but yeah, he's a buddy of mine. Been on my podcast a couple times. Super good dude. And you know, guy's still scrapping. So he's a pride and joy of Jersey right now.
You know, you brought up that you guys are going to have a tournament later on here with the game. And every now and again, we talk about UFC 1, right? And the tournament and how all that worked out. The way the sport has evolved today, what do you think, what percentage of the UFC roster do you feel would win UFC 1?
Wait, would win this game? You're saying?
No, would win if they went back in time and competed in UFC 1. What percentage of the UFC roster do you think would win UFC 1?
Oh, like, yeah, almost 100%. I think.
All of them, almost.
Yeah, I think
Even
almost all of them. It's just
even
so
the
different.
flyweights.
Well, listen, yeah, you got to, yeah. I'd say lightweight and above. I think they would win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some featherweights will probably win too.
So being a guy who,
Some 35ers might win, might still win.
yeah, you never know, man.
Even some 25ers, dude, for real. Yeah, the discrepancy is pretty big. Think how
So
big
being a guy,
the discrepancy between Hoist and those guys.
Mhm,
You know,
true. Being a guy who fought at so many different weight classes, now when you look back on it, do you ever look at one weight class and say, you know what, I wish I just did that one the whole way through because I felt the best at that? Or do you kind of feel like you had to make all those different moves to kind of end up where you ended up today?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that I got to fight across 3 different weight classes. I got to fight, like, pretty much, the who's who of 3 different weight classes in my career, which was cool. Get to experience a little bit of not cutting weight, cut a little bit of weight, then cut a bunch of weight. But a lot of times I'm like, dude, why did I ever, I went down at 55 when I lost 2, razor close fights to Benson Henderson. I don't think I needed to go down, really. I would have had success at the time. But guys did get, a lot bigger as the sport went on, too. So I guess it's just
Is there a fighter today that kind of reminds you of yourself?
I don't know. I don't like to say that. I don't want to make any of these fighters feel bad.
Feel bad. It'd be an honor.
No, I know. I don't look at it like that. I don't look at myself like that, man. I don't know. There's a lot of good guys out there right now, so it's tough to put that on somebody.
What have you done post-fighting that has come close to the rush and the high of training for a fight and competing in a fight?
Coaching my kids in wrestling. That's definitely the nerves of it all, the worrisome of it all, and even the joyness you get from it too. I think that's the closest thing.
Frankie,
go ahead, Ghost.
Watching it now, kind of as a fan, when you look at high-level mixed martial art, do you enjoy it when there's one guy that's just a dominant champ versus the belt kind of switching from guy to guy? I know as a fighter, it can both work in your favor, but as a fan, what do you prefer?
I think I like greatness, like watching Islam able to, kind of get that 4th win at the lightweight when it's never been done, and what he has, the possibility that what else he can do. Watching Ilia, kind of go and put people away and maybe possibly go up to 55. I mean, I like that stuff.
Do you think he did that too soon, though? Maybe a few more title defenses before testing himself?
I think he definitely could have. That's just the nature of it now. Conor kind of, when he came in, talked about, getting different belts, and this, it wasn't even a thing. My son was like, hey, when you were at the 55-pound belt, did you think about going down to 45 and fighting Aldo for that belt? I'm like, nah, that wasn't even a thing. Like, you had, it wasn't even like a thing you could keep a belt and go down and fight for another belt. So, it's kind of just new age stuff now.
What do you think of Aldo? Still chugging along? And do you think the UFC maybe is almost mishandling his comeback? I feel like maybe there should have been a few more legendary fights against, like, a Dominic Cruz or something like that. No disrespect to his opponents, but you know what I mean. Like, this guy's an icon.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Aldo's he's just about it. He just wants to fight, get in there and mix it up, and he still thinks he's got the skills, and he's been proving it. So yeah, it's fun to see.
You mentioned Makhachev. Do you think that's what distinguished himself possibly as the greatest lightweight ever, or who in your mind is the greatest lightweight ever?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Habib's up there, BJ's up there. Yeah, I mean, Islam. I mean, I guess if he continues on the path that he does, then you got to give it to him. So, yeah, I mean, he's going out there. He's not only he's finishing guys. You know, he's not just defending the title; he's finishing guys. So he probably takes the game.
Just so you know, we asked Jim Miller that same question, and he said either BJ or you. So he was very complimentary towards you. And a last thing I want to ask you is, who is the fighter that competes now that you've never met, but that you can say, I'm a fan of that guy or gal?
I've never met. I met everybody, I think, but let's see. I don't know, Diego Lopes. I don't know if I met him actually, so maybe him. I mean, we might have crossed paths. Never really met him though, but I'm definitely a fan of him. I'm excited for that fight. I think that's a good fight coming up between him and Volkanovski.
Who takes it down?
You know that stat that the fighters 170 and below, 35 and up. You know about that stat?
No, explain it, please.
So in title fights where fighters are 170 and below, the record of guys that are 35 and older is like 3-50 or something like that.
Oh my gosh!
It was 250 for the longest time until Bilal went and beat Leon Edwards, I believe, and because he was over 35. But based on that stat, I gotta say Lopes. Although I'm a big ass Volkanovski fan, but yeah.
Interesting. And I wasn't a fan of Lopez either, and he won me over. And I'm thinking that he has a really, really good chance. He's really, really tough. I know people are saying he faded in that Ige fight a little bit, but hey, this was all a
maybe
big
that was a lesson
switcheroo.
learned. Maybe that was a lesson learned too. You know,
could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, who isn't a fan of Volkanovski and everything he's done in his career as well?
He's a stud.
It's a great matchup. All right, so fans, remember, any Dave & Buster's nationwide, you can go play this game. Frankie's at the Times Square. Is it popping over there? It is.
Yeah, it's happening here. It's definitely good times. Crowds are digging it right now, and it's going to be a long line on that UFC game. I know that.
Nice. All right, and he's there with his kids, and adults can play, kids can play. It's a good time, and don't forget that Dave & Buster's basically is your home to watch the UFC, not just the pay-per-views, but the fight nights. And you can also now play this UFC challenge game, a knockout experience. 11 foot wide, 12 foot tall, 1,700-pound ultimate test of speed and accuracy. And Frankie's saying it's really, really realistic. So go out there and play it and check it out. Frankie, always great to catch up with you on MMA Junkie Radio. Hopefully, if you do another set over here, another comedy set, we'll go catch you. Although you say you might be retired, but you never know, right?
I don't know. Yeah, it's like one and done.
All right, man.
Great talking to you. Take care.